Hey, welcome to another Dev Diary. This Dev Diary is about setting up white labeling. Pierre, early adopter, had a question about how to set up pre-calculated white labeling, and in this video we're going to look into that. So today we will be looking into the pre-calculated white labeling, and just as an example of what you're going to be making, here I have a couple of different buttons that can change the theme dynamically. Got one for a nice dirt label for the people into motocross, and a nice 20-sided die for the Dungeons and Dragons people out there. But first, a word from our sponsors, and that's you guys. You guys can help sponsor this channel, become a member, and send us a donation. There are a couple of different tiers, and they all help us in different ways. And it just makes it viable for us to keep making these videos and keep making this content for you guys. So the first thing that we want to do is go into your company core, go into CSS variables, and this brings us into this file. For this one, I've only changed 4 of the variables, and just make sure that the last variable ends with a dot comma. Here we can see we have the primary and the danger colors, and this goes through the body.dirt class. You see the same that we've done it for the background and the background elements. So these are your cards and your panels. We've done the same for the .goth class. You see primary, danger, and because this one is inversed, sort of a dark theme, we have the text, which is light. And here we have the backgrounds, which are dark. When we have this, it will compile, and then once we set the class on the body, then it will change. So now that we have those classes set up, we want to create a button that can add those classes to the body. So the way I do that is a simple button, add widget. We want to have a nano flow. Call this nano flow button. We want to have a new trigger. So call this one JSA, JavaScript action, and let's call this one toggle goth. So we add this, we can actually go into here, go into our action, and we want to add a JavaScript action, which is JavaScript call action, and the action that we want to call is actually one in the Maui layouts, JavaScript, and we want to toggle the body class. So we add this one, and then the string value is the class that we just made, called goth. Add that, return nothing, we can run it, it's nothing fancy, save it. Need to allow a role, so let's just use administrator and the user. Once we run it, we have this class here, and then when we press it, go into the inspector, and we can see on the body that the class is here, and when we press it, it will toggle it on and off. Okay, so the second part, or the next part, I'm not sure if it's the second part, is to set up the logo. So when we toggle this, we get a different logo, this one. And the way we do this is you need to change the path. So I have done this in the custom folder in web under my name. And here we have the different paths. And they just go to the resources, this one daywise, the logo dirt, or logo goth. And I have put them in the resources folder, which is in your theme, in custom, in public, and in resources. And anything that's in these resource folders gets put into your deployment folder under web, under resources. And that way, doesn't really matter where this code is, because it just goes from your deployment directory 2 folders out, back into your resources and back into the logo golf, the logo dirt. Day-wise, depending on the body, it's quite simple. And this is sort of where things start to get interesting. We want to have a body class once a user logs in. So there are different ways to do it, but essentially it's detecting which class it is and setting it on startup. So for me, we have a data view with the body class, which is part of the domain model, and account. We just add an attribute called body class. It's not very important what you call it. And then once this is set, the value will be set to that account. So let's say goth, save it. Now the second part is triggering it once the page loads. So I have put that on here on the data source set body class, and we put that in our master snippets. So the master snippets are the part of the layout, and the master snippets are some very top level snippets. So this one calls the nano flow to here. This retrieves the account. So we have retrieve a user from database. We find that it's a account, and then we cast the account through. If it's found, so if the body class is not empty, so if it's empty it gets a bug. So if it's not empty, we can just add through the add body class, which is another one of these JavaScript actions, and apply it. So it's pretty simple. Let's give this a run. It's called goth, and if we rerun this, it should set it on once it's loaded. We can just make sure that we have goth. Let's try the other one, dirt. Save it, and when we rerun it, it will apply the correct class to the body. So the last way we want to interact with these body classes is through the login.html. Login.html doesn't run any nano flows or microflows, so we're going to have to use some traditional JavaScript, which I have here. And all this does is looks at the URL, and if it contains one of these words, it applies a certain class. So usually you'd have a domain name with that class in it, but we can't do that on a local host, but we can fake it with a question mark, and we can apply dirt, and then it will reload. And we can do the same for goth, and then it reloads. Because this looks at the path that is in your styling, this will also make the logo correct, and your styling will work perfectly. And you can also see it here in the script tag at the bottom. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and feel free to send a donation our way so we can keep making this kind of content for you guys. Thanks, and keep making cool stuff.